welcome back to the Brown Jewels. Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the Brown Jewels with me. It's Ralph Brown. Episode 1, that's done. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. You can message me your thoughts, feedback, abuse, whatever comes easiest to you. Just let me know. And if you've not listened to episode 1, go back and listen to it now. It's just a wee 20 minutes long. It'll explain a few things. Don't listen to things out of sync. Don't be like, I'm just going to listen to episode 9, then jump into episode 2, and then just listen to them in order, right? And if you've listened to episode 1, thank you for forgiving me for the sins of my past. So we can move on. Because episode 2 is going to talk about how I started in comedy and why I was such a pussy and took till the age of 30 to be able to start it. I'll talk about my bookshelf and my highbrow literature on my bookshelf. And just more general stuff around what it's like in the beginning, how you're treated, what everyone else is like. And what lovely people you meet in comedy when you first start out, because everyone's really normal and everyone's really sane, and they're great to be around at all times. I've been recording this for a while now, so some of you may notice that when I mention the date, that it isn't January anymore. That's how fucking long I've been working on this. That's how long I've been trying to get this out. So if anyone wants to message me, like, it's not actually January the 11th. Yeah, I know, dipshit. Get over it. So there's all that to come up. Episode 2. Enjoy the episode. Today, you join me live from my podcast studio / kitchen as I celebrate 6 years in stand-up comedy. 6 years of doing stand-up comedy. And what a 6 years it has been. Let's go back to the beginning. The first gig. My first ever gig. Because first gig stories are always a good laugh. If you ever meet a comedian, ask them about their first gig. It's always good because they're normally bad. That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that shared pain of how badly it went in the beginning. And I remember my very first gig, clear as day. It was 6 years ago, but I was trying to convince myself to do it for longer than that, though. I was too scared. Oh, that's weird. It just made eye contact with my neighbour as they opened their curtains, and I'm just sitting here looking out the window. That was weird. Let's pretend like that didn't happen. So I was trying to convince myself to do it for years and years, and I was just like, no, I will not do it. Going on stage for the first time will be awful. It'll be horrible. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be too nervous. It won't be good. So I told myself that for about 3 years. But then you start trying to convince yourself that maybe it won't be that bad. You never know. It might actually go well. So that little internal battle went on for about 3 years. And also, didn't tell a single person I was going to do this. Didn't tell anyone I was going to do it. So you start trying to look for signs. Yeah, I should do this. This is my calling. It could be longer than 3 years, actually. Could be longer than that. I remember reading Kevin Bridges' autobiography, which, by the way, is my kind of book. I can see my bookshelf from here. If you're an avid book reader and you've read all the classics, if you saw my bookshelf, you would be like, what a fucking pleb this guy is. Because, I mean, autobiographies, I believe, are looked down on as the worst kind of book. That's literally all my bookshelf is. It's comedians' autobiographies. What have we got there? Let's stand up. Let's have a wee walk round. Fuck's sake. I'm falling out the chair. Oh, Jesus Christ. I've just stood up. There's a cushion I've been sitting on, and underneath the cushion is a red Quality Street and a receipt. What's the receipt for? Christmas presents that weren't from me. So yeah, this bookshelf. Who we got? Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Steve Coogan, Judd Apatow, Jerry Seinfeld, Stuart Lee, Bill Hicks, Frank Skinner, Sarah Silverman, Andrea Pirlo. Yeah, spot the odd one out there. Can't remember buying that. That is the sum of my bookshelf. On a Kevin Bridges, on a Russell Brand one. So if you saw that bookshelf, you'd be like, alright Ralph, we get it. Do you like stand-up comedy? Chill out, man. Message received loud and clear. You didn't have to buy 45 books in that category. Now I'm starting to think, should I eat that red Quality Street? That flattened red Quality Street? Well, that's breakfast sorted, I guess. Anyway, what was I talking about? Alright. So, you'd walk in, you'd see my bookshelf and you'd be like, what a dummy. What a dumb little bastard. Is that all he's capable of reading? Yes, that is all I'm capable of reading. So anyway, back to the point. I'm reading Kevin Bridges' autobiography, and if you don't know who he is, very famous Scottish comedian. He's talking about the lead up to him getting involved in stand-up comedy. He's talking about what was going on in his head, how he convinced himself to do it. He kept saying to himself, what if it goes badly? What if it goes badly? He kept saying that over and over himself. That he just kept talking about, what if it goes badly? And then there's the other part that goes, but what if it goes well? But what if it goes well? So then he decides to do it. He signs up to The Stand, Red Raw, which is their new material, new act night. Signs up. He's all nervous. Goes out and smashes the living fuck out of the gig. Has an unbelievable gig apparently. Kills it. Destroys the room. And that's his first gig. And obviously the rest is history. Becomes one of the biggest comedians in the UK. I mean, him and Billy Connolly, the two best comedians to ever come out of Scotland. So that's his first gig. So I'm reading that and I'm like, and I started convincing myself, oh yeah, what if mine goes well? What if my first gig goes well? So then I start to think about that. I start to tell myself, yeah, it will go well. So I sign up to the exact same night. To be fair, there's not many other options. It wasn't like I was trying to like copy him. There's not really many other options to start stand-up comedy in Edinburgh. So I signed up to The Stand, to Red Raw, put my name down in like the October or whatever. Get an email back being like, you have a gig booked for January the 11th, 2016. You've got 5 minutes. So then I had, 3 months to then prepare a really funny comedy set. And I'm still thinking, in my head, oh yeah, but what if it goes well? And I completely forgot about all the more reasonable doubts, the ones I just forced to the back of my head, like, yeah, but what if it doesn't go well? What if it doesn't go well? I just started thinking to myself, yeah, it must go well for everyone's first gig. Fucking idiot. So anyway, I can't really remember what happened in those 3 months. Again, didn't tell anyone. Didn't tell a single soul I was doing this. So the 3 months pass. I've got some kind of set together for this 5 minutes. I should probably mention, I am terrified. The day of, I'm absolutely terrified. Like, it was all consuming. From the second I got up, I was like, today's the day. Today's the day. And then obviously you start going, oh, I'm going to quit. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pull out. I'm going to pull out. You start going, no, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Should have mentioned, I'd been to the week before, or maybe the one just before Christmas. I'd been along to see what the Red Raw was like. And every comedian there was really good. The compere, the MC, they were really good. All the acts that came out were really good. And I was just thinking, holy shit, what have I signed up for? What the hell have I signed up for? So fast forward, January 11th, 2016. I walk into The Stand. So the one I'd been to maybe just before Christmas, the room had been kind of like, it was busy. There were a few empty seats. It didn't look that busy. It kind of felt like, oh, that's an okay number of people to do comedy in front of. On January 11th, 2016, I walked into The Stand and it was fucking packed. It was rammed. And there was, as soon as you walked in, there's like, I don't know what the capacity of The Stand is. I think someone's told me it's like 120, 130. It's over 100 anyway. And I imagine just like over 100 people just all like that constant like chatter and everything like that. It was mental. It felt so noisy. It felt like you'd walked into like a stadium. You walked in, it's buzzing. Everyone's chatting, everyone's laughing. You can hear the glasses clinking, all that stuff. And I walk in and instantly I'm like, oh, what the fuck have I done? What am I doing here? There wasn't this many people when I came a few weeks ago. If there had been, I wouldn't be here right now. Go back into the green room in the stand, still terrified. So nervous, I can barely even talk. I go and sit down on one of the couches. People were obviously just like, oh my God, rabbit in the headlights. This is going to be good. Sit down, start talking to people. It quickly comes out, it's my very first ever gig. And people are like, oh, so it's your first time gigging at the stand? And I'm like, oh no, my first ever gig. And I could see people's faces were just like, oh my God. Because I've been there. I've now been in the back of the stand when people walk in and they go, oh yeah, it's my first gig. You just get flashbacks of what it was like. And I'm just sitting, I think I was on in the first section. Yeah, I was. I just checked it on, I know I did the other day actually. Yeah, it was on in the first section. So there's about 2 or 3 comedians on before me. People, like other comedians, kept coming back into the room and they go, oh my God, it's so fucking busy out there. It's so busy. There's like people sitting on the floor, there's people standing up. And people kept coming back and saying this in front of me. And I'll not name names, but one person just kept saying it. Oh, it's so busy out there. It's so busy. It's so many people. And I'm like, oh my God, stop talking. I'm shitting my pants over here. So, show starts. The compere asks me, hey, do you want me to let them know it's your first ever gig? And I went, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I can't remember my reason for that, but I went, don't do that. So then, it's almost my time. You're kind of standing behind a door. So your name gets called. You open the door, you turn right, you go onto the stage. Then got 5 minutes. So this is all a blur. Please welcome to the stage. It's Ralph Brown. And I walk out and I am shaking with nerves. If I saw me walk out, if I was in a comedy club and I saw a guy walk out on the stage as nervous as I was, I'd be like, oh, this is going to be absolutely brutal. And remember, the thing that encouraged me to get there, it was like, but what if it goes well? Kevin Bridges had a really amazing first gig. He was like, oh, what if it goes well? And it did. It did for him. I walked out onto that stage and I can only describe it as a brutal. It was nothing but silence as I stumbled my way through what I thought were jokes. I talked shit, none of it made sense, and rightfully so, the audience didn't laugh. Rightfully so. 5 minutes. And I think I remember it was like, oh, how funny. I think this is one of my first premises. It was like, oh, how funny is lying? This is it. What an absolute comedy genius. How funny is lying? And I think I remember telling this story because it was, at the time, it was this kind of like funny story between me and friends. And I was like, oh, that'll kill in a comedy club. All these little inside jokes between you and your friends that your friends find funny because you've known them over loads of years and you've all kind of got the same sense of humour. Go on stage and tell that like you were just telling it to other friends. That'll be funny in a comedy club. Wrong. Inside jokes between you and your friends will never be funny to other people who don't know you and your friends. Something I learned in the harshest of fashions. Because I went up for 5 minutes, died on my fucking arse, ate shit for 5 minutes. 5 minutes of silence. 5 minutes. If you think about how awkward 30 seconds of silence is. Think about that. Imagine if, I'm not going to do it now because that would just be really shit. But imagine pause this for 30 seconds and just sit in silence, right? And think how long, you're like, oh, is that 30 seconds? You look down at your watch. No, that's only been 12 seconds. So think how long that is. And then there was 5 minutes of just the audience not laughing at me trying to make them laugh. I remember, clear as day, like this person, if you were there on the stand in Edinburgh on January the 11th, 2016, first of all, I apologise to all of you. You're due a written apology. It was bad, so I apologise to all of you. However, there's one person in that crowd who doesn't know how much they affected me and how much what they did that night lives on with me. I did a joke. I can't remember what the joke was about. I think it was probably about like hey, dick jokes. Blah. I remember saying a joke, getting to the punchline, and I'll also probably mention when you're up there, the light's so bright in your face, you can maybe see like the front row, you can see like the second row a little bit, but beyond that, it's just kind of like darkness because you can't see because you're so well lit up. This big bright stage, like you can't see a lot of it, so it's just darkness. So there's just a lot of people. You know they're there because it is a packed room, remember, but it's just darkness. So I said a joke. I'd love to remember what it was. I'd love to remember. I would happily tell it again. But I do a joke, hit the punchline, silence, like a wall of silence, and then in the darkness, off to my right hand side, all I heard from the darkness after my big punchline, all I heard was, ugh. That's what I heard. Ugh. And it was exactly that noise. Ugh. That lives on with me. I'll never, ever forget that. I'd convinced myself to be like, you can do stand-up comedy. You can do this. And I get on stage, die a horrible death for 5 minutes, which is the opposite of what I was trying to achieve. No laughter whatsoever. The only noise I got that night, was, ugh, from a guy who has lived on in my head for 6 years and will to the day I die. There's no forgetting that moment. I'd love to meet that person. I can't even hate the guy. Can't even hate them. Anyone's reaction that night, if someone walked away and just like chucked their head in an oven, or just went home and slapped themselves in the face in front of a mirror for 10 minutes, cannot blame any of their reactions. It was bad. It was really bad. And I got off stage. I was just in like shock. I remember just going and sitting down in the green room, and I think people try to talk to me. I think people would try to go, oh, well done. Compere goes out, and rightfully so. He has to salvage that room that I've just destroyed. Him and all the other comedians are having really good sets. I have just gone up and ruined that room. I've sucked all the fun and the energy out of the room. So rightfully he had to go back out there and try and get them back on side. And he went out there and been like, oh, give it up for Ralph Brown. That was his very first ever gig. And like the audience were obviously just like, well, clearly that was his fucking first gig. Because if that was his 100th gig, he should quit. So I'm sitting there in the back, in shot. And I'm like, what in the hell was that? That didn't go to plan at all. I was hoping it would go a little better than that. But it didn't. And I've been there. I've been in that green room. The audience noise is pumped into the back of the room. You can hear it through a speaker in the room. So you kind of like, it's a bit, the walls aren't that thick. You can still hear the crowd even without that. You can kind of hear them. But when the noise is kind of pumped into the green room, you can hear as a comedian in the back, you can hear what's going on out there. And normally people are sitting about talking. People are maybe like focused on their set. So you're not sitting in the back listening to that person's set. However, if you are sitting in the back and someone's out on stage and that speaker has been quiet for over 30 seconds, everyone you do just think, oh, what's happening? What's happening out there? And you just all just kind of like start like, focusing in, like what's going on out there? Are they just doing a bit? Is that a big punchline about to drop? What's happening? And so you start sitting around and being like, what's going on? Why is there no laughter? And as the silence went on, I can only imagine what people's faces would have been like. They would have been like, the new guy's bombing. He's struggling. And surely he'll get one laugh. Surely he'll get at least one laugh. Surely someone will give him sympathy. Surely one of these sentences will at least make sense and they'll give him a pity laugh. No, none of that happened. What if it goes well? It didn't. What if it goes well? It just didn't. It didn't go well. I didn't know what the fuck to do. I just sat there, just being like, well, at least the first time's over. So again, apologies if you were there. I actually know one person that was actually there, comedian Kimmy. She wasn't in the crowd. She was obviously just there, just to kind of watch the show. And she was there, and I saw her maybe like the week after, and she reminded me that at one point I pretended to be like on the phone. So you know how you do the kind of like the finger pointing and you put the little hand to the ear. You pretend like your hand's a phone. At one point, I pretended to do that, But I was so nervous, my hand was like shaking. I was trying to be on the phone. My hand was just like rapidly shaking, which, oh my God, if I had seen that, if I was in the audience watching that, I'd be like, good God, put this boy out of his misery. Shoot him in the head. Kill him now. Kill us now. This is awful. Tell you what, things like that. Oh, it's character building. It's not. It's not character building. Because all I hear is, ugh, ugh. So thank you, person in the audience who did that noise. It will live with me forever, and rightfully so. I ruined your night. I think I had like another, I got 2 gigs booked in with the Stand. Second gig happened like about a month later, but you know what? It was meh. It was alright. It was nothing. It just wasn't as spectacular a death as that. But I think that second one not going as badly as the first one probably would have made me think, right, let's try and keep going. I wonder if I'll ever forget that first gig. The answer, never. So if you're ever lying there in your bed at night and you're going over something embarrassing you said one time and it was a bit cringe. If you're ever lying there thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. If you ever just want to make yourself feel a little better, just think about the time that I went on stage in front of 100+ people trying to make them laugh and died on my little arsehole. So if that helps you feel better, just use that as a little example to cheer yourself up. Give your little self a little spring in the step by remembering my pain. So that was me in. Hooked, 2 gigs, 6 years later, still going. Still plodding on. Still just ploughing away like a little curly-headed fuck that I am. Still just trying to make your way through it. It's a wild place to start out with when you know nothing from just watching comedy on the TV, going to Fringe shows, and then you got to learn everything about the world of comedy. So when I started out as a young little rascal in the comedy world, in what's known as being an open spot, and you are essentially a piece of shit in the beginning, what you quickly find out has come before you is hundreds of other open spots who turned up at gigs, were mental, they talked shit, they made really bad jokes. They all thought they were Frankie Boyle. They try to be like, oh, here's something offensive. I'm going to say something offensive now because Frankie Boyle says it. It's those people that ruin it. Those are the people that's the reputation you're up against. And it's all you're up against that with people that book comedy shows, other comedians, but audiences. When you go to new material nights, new act nights, people go there to watch a car crash. People go there because they go, it's a cheap night, you'll get some good comedians trying new material, but you'll also just get a car crash. People go there to watch people like what I did. Someone got a kick out of what I did that night. Someone loved that. So you're up against that. All these fucking idiots that have come before you have essentially given the position of open spot a very bad name. So you're automatically on the back foot. You're trying to set yourself aside. You're trying to set yourself apart from all these disasters that have happened in the past because you're just treated like, well, we've seen your type before. They hang around for about 6 months. They burn gigs. They really just are shocking. A lot of people, some of them just do it because they want a new profile picture to go, oh, I did comedy. Yeah. That happens a lot. A lot of guys just show up and they're like, hey, would you mind getting a picture with me holding the mic? And then they come on, they do like 5 minutes, they fuck off, and they're never seen on the comedy scene again. So there's a lot of nut jobs that do comedy. That's that's also something you learn. A lot of nut jobs that do comedy. Because it's not a very sane thing to do. So it does attract the most mental people ever. Case in point, used to attend an open mic night at 52 Canoes in the Grass Market, just off the Grass Market, and anyone could sign up on the night. You turned up, you put your name down, and you got on that stage no matter what. No matter what. No criteria. All you had to do is just be able to turn up and hold a mic, and then you were on. And people used to show up from far away. And one time a guy showed up He put his name down, and you kind of thought, oh, he's a bit weird, but you didn't really think anything else of it. This was just a place where mental people hang out. So he was talking to a few people, and then he told someone on the break that he had escaped from a mental hospital and that he was here to do stand-up comedy. And I think a lot of people were just like, what a guy, what a character. So someone just kind of on the off chance was like, nah, something doesn't seem right. So phoned the police. Turns out he had escaped from a mental hospital, and the first thing he thought to do was, I'll go to an open mic comedy gig and I'll do a little 5 minutes. He didn't actually get to do his set that night. The chain of events is very hazy, but my introduction to him, I went into the toilet and he was in the cubicle in this very small toilet, and he kind of waved me in. He went, come in. And I was kind of like, walked towards me like, what are you doing? And he was rolling a joint or something, and he went, do you want to smoke? And I'd just been offered drugs, so I tried to be like, nah, I'm alright, man. Don't worry about me, bro. I probably didn't say that. I probably just like, no thanks. So he goes, do you want to smoke? I go, no thank you. And he looked at me in disgust, looked me up and down and just went, pussy. I'd be like, fucking hell. Just say it to my face, why don't you? Pussy. I was like, well, you've got my number, mate. You've got my number. You've absolutely nailed me there. And that's the extreme version of it. There's a lot of them that are not far off that. There's a lot of them that should have been sectioned. After you watch what they do on stage, you're like, oh, you shouldn't be allowed in public. After what you've just said, that's the kind of people you have to deal with on a regular basis. But in that 6 years, what else have I done? What else have I done apart from getting called a pussy in a toilet? That's actually probably the highlight of the career so far. You don't really get any better than that. Thank you, mental fuck from the toilet. What else have I done? Gigged over Scotland. I've gigged in some really nice places. And I've gigged in Thurso. What a shithole. Gigging in England's been fun. I've done that a few times now. I think the next episode I'll talk about the competition I did in London and just the weird places that I find myself staying in when I'm doing comedy. And when I'm not doing comedy as well. I try and make it sound like, oh, I just cut costs when I'm doing comedy. I'm not. I'm tight as fuck. That's it. Episode 2, all done. I miss you. I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait. How does that work? I can't wait for you to hear me again. That's a bit... It's an egomaniac. I can't wait for you to hear my voice again. That's not what I was trying to say, but that's what it sounded like. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you liked it, share it. Yeah. If you liked it, tell a friend. Put it in a WhatsApp group. Fucking tell people about this. If you liked it, tell a friend, tell a lover. Tell your lover. And that's the deal. If you like this, go and tell your lover. And if you don't have a lover, well, go and tell some random fuckwit on Tinder or something, I don't know. If you don't have a lover, tell your neighbour. Go knock on your neighbour's door right now. Just open the letterbox and go, have you listened to the Brown Shows yet? You wank. Anyway, rambling blocks, because again, I don't know how to end these things. So, thank you for listening. Enjoy the next episode when it's out.